Hello, welcome to this course on how to use external APIs in Adalo. In this course, you're going to learn so many things. One thing that makes Adalo API so special is that you'll be able to connect your apps to thousands and thousands and thousands of external collections, thousands and thousands of external apps. It just increases the functionality of your app. It puts your app in beast mode. You're able to connect to email services, database services, hosting services, crypto services, payment gateway, almost any type of service you want to connect with. Adalo API enables you to do so. And that's what we're going to be learning in this course. If you are a beginner, then wear your seatbelt, go get a cup of tea, and let's have a deep dive on how to use API in Adalo. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you're just joining me for the very first time. I produce courses on no code, and definitely my courses are great. Feel free to subscribe, share, leave your comment below, and I'll do well to answer them in due time. And if you need help with your no-code application, feel free to reach out to me. My contact details is down there. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do well to help you and give you good advice on how to go about building your no-code application. If you want someone building it for you, feel free to reach out to me. So that's it. Let's dive that deep. So that's it. Let's get started with learning how to use external APIs in Adalo. Thank you. Hi, welcome back to this course on getting started with the APIs in Adalo. As we move forward in this course, I'm going to be showing you what an API is. Then we're going to move on to understanding API terminologies, and I'm going to show you how to read an API documentation with hopscotch. Documentations can be pretty hard, and if you do not know how to read them, there's no way you'll be able to use API successfully. Once you get a hold of that, I'm going to show you how you can make your first API request in Adalo. Adalo is very robust and has so many ways that you can really make API requests in Adalo. Then when we are good with that, I'm going to show you how you can send data from Adalo to external service. For example, how you can send a data in Adalo to your mailing list, or how you can send the data in Adalo to some other software that you want to communicate with. And to cram everything together, and to cram it all together, we're going to build our own CryptoWatch app in Adalo. So what this app is going to do is that it's going to tell you the current price of cryptocurrency real time. That's what it's going to do. There's no way we'll be able to get the current price if we do not link up to an external database. So that's what we're going to be doing with API. So let's get started with understanding what an API is. I'll see you in the next lesson. Hi, welcome back to this course. We're going to be showing you what an API is. An API stands for Application Programming Interface. It serves as a data transmitter between two software. It could be your software and another software. It could be your software and another software and another software. So one particular request can be broken down into so many types of requests, definitely when you're using an API. So this is it. An API consists of two parts. It consists of the client and the web server, which has a database inside of it that has the data that you want to request. So if, for example, in your Adalo application, you want to request list of music from Spotify, what you do is that you would send an API request from your mobile application straight to Spotify, and then Spotify requesting for information, yes, and then Spotify will send you that data to your mobile application in real time. What's making this possible is the web API. You don't own the resource in Spotify, but you want to use it in the application. And what do? You go get it. And how do you go get it? You get it via an API. So an API consists of several rules. There's a couple of things that must be in an API for it to work, for it to be called an API and for it to work. Number one, it's called the resource. That's the data that you want to access. Yeah, you can send an API request without accessing the data. That's the reason for an API, to access data. And so it's called a resource. Yeah, it's called a resource because you want to access something with it. Then we also have the security, authentication. How do you know that the right person is accessing the right data? How do you know that the person who's accessing the data is the right person to access it. So that's the reason why you use security. Meanwhile, some APIs are open, they're public, so you don't need security to access some API, especially test API, API for practice, public API. You do not need security to access it, or even the security is pretty low. Yeah, the whole thing, the authentication, it's pretty low, so you can just get into using those APIs with little or no effort. So some APIs can use passwords, some API can use tokens. It really depends on the kind of API that you're looking for. So when it comes to security, public API can be accessed by almost anybody. Then we also have internal APIs that's used for sharing resources in your company internally. Then we also have external API, just like what Spotify has. The API that Spotify is using to give our app the information it needs, it's requesting for, it's called an external API. So then we also have perimeter. A lot of time you don't want to get data from the web server just like so. You want to sort via a particular perimeter. It might be via date, it might be via a greater than, via a less than, it might be all the data in a particular web server that contains a particular word. So you want to sort via a particular perimeter so you don't get all the data into your system just like so. And then we also have a rate limit. This is the maximum number of API requests that can be made over time. The reason why there's this rate limit is because of SQL injection. Is because people can inject stuff into your API. People can run an API to infinity. Why? Because there's no rate limits. This just also check it to make sure there's something called load balancing to make sure that it's well balanced. Not too many requests is coming at a particular time. So now what happens is that as the request is coming, the web server fulfills it. It comes, the web server fulfills it. But there's a balance in between to make sure that the web server doesn't get overwhelmed as you make those API requests. And also there's something called pignation. Pignation is the number of resource that is sent at once. The more resource an API can send, the slower the response will be. The lighter the resource that API will send, the better it's going to be. So the way it works is that you make your API request in bits, tiny bits all around the application, and you'll be able to your data will be way faster than making everything, than getting all the resources all at once. So this is the way a typical API request will look like. It consists of an endpoint and then the resource. For example, if we're trying to access a data in a Airtable database, you can see we have api.airtable.com. That is the endpoint. Yeah, that's the endpoint right here, like so. This is the endpoint. api.airtable.com/vo. VO is the version. So API deprecates. Yeah. API produced 6 months ago might deprecate. So because as company grow, as they make more changes, they want to add more. They want to add more to their API. They want to add more resource. They want to add more capabilities to their API. So they increase the version. So you might check on your end and you would see it is no longer VO, it is now V1. So things change. Then we have the trip side here, which is the resource. Say for example, our table is a list of trip. So what you want to do, you want to plug in the endpoint. Yeah, you want to plug in the endpoint and then and then access the trip resources. So that's the way an API works. An API, don't forget, consists of an endpoint and the resource. So that's what we're going to be doing majority of the time. We will plug into an endpoint, try to collect a resource, we will authenticate it, and we would set up some parameter, then we will get the kind of the data that we are looking for. So that's what an API is. In the next lesson, we will talk about API terminologies, some of the buzzwords that you're going to be hearing over and over again as we go in this course. I'll see you in the next lesson. So welcome back to this course. This time we're talking about terminologies. First on our list is called a webhook. A webhook is also called a callback or an HTTP push API. The reason why it's called like so is that every time you click in your application, something is happening, and every time an update is made, something is happening. So it just really provides real-time information as to what's going on in your application. For example, if you're creating a payment application with Adalo, every time a user logs into the account and and that's an action. Every time a user make a payment, that's an action. Every time a user creates an invoice, that's an action. So what a webhook does, it really notifies you that a particular action has taken place, that a table has been updated, a table has been deleted, a table has been created. So it just really help you to know what's going on in your application in real time. And using a webhook, you can send information in between two database, two web servers, from your application to a web server, from a web server and back using HTTP. So we're going to see how this is done later, how webhooks are used later, but that's what a webhook is. So then also we have JSON. JSON is called JavaScript Object Notation. Majority of your API requests, majority of what you want to get via your API request will be written like so. Will be written in JSON. Majority of the data that you're going to be getting will be written in will be collected in JSON. I'm going to show you how a typical JSON format is later in this course, but just have that in mind. Then we also have the HTTP methods. So whenever you're making a request, you're going to be doing four things. Just think of it, it's another name for crud. So what an API would do, if you're sending or receiving a request, you're going to be either creating a database, or records. Let's say records, creating a record, reading a record, updating a record, or deleting a record. There are lots of other operations that you can do, but majority of the time, this is what you're going to be doing with your database. Majority of the time. So if you post, that means you're adding something there. Get, you're collecting something, you're collecting something there. Somehow you might be updating something. Somehow you might be replacing a record and putting something else, or you might be deleting a record, just like so. So it really depends on what you want to achieve. Then we have external APIs. An external API is an API that is designed to be accessed by the public. For example, Adalo has an external API, Adalo has an internal API, Adalo has an external API. So what the external API does is that the people you can plug into Adalo from another service like Integromat and access data from Adalo database. So that's what an external API is. Then we have an API request. An API request happens when you as a no-code developer adds an endpoint to a URL and uses that endpoint to make a request from a server. Just like what we talked about before now, say we want to access a list of trips in another database, or we want to access the weather. So what we're going to do is that we'll make an API request to the web server that contains those information and retrieve those information from that web server. Then we also have something called an API key. An API key is a unique identifier that enables a software, that enables other software to know who is accessing the particular data, to ensure that that person is actually the right person to access the data. It's something pretty complex. I'd say that you never shared. It's something really complex. It could be really long. It could be really short. So it really depends. So as we go, we're going to see different API keys, not like different types of API keys, but we're going to see some API keys and see what they're used for. Then we also have an API call. So an API call is a process of setting up a request from your own API after setting up the endpoint. It's to collect something, it's to get something from a web server after setting up the endpoint. So those are some major terminologies that we're using in this course. So this is the end of the boring part, where we get to learn the terminologies and see what an API is. Next, we're going to upscotch to actually really practice and just get our hands dirty with API. I'll see you in the next lesson. So welcome back to this course, and we want to see how an API works, just like so. So this is a web address called hopscotch.io. You can come right here and practice, practice, practice. So we're using an API, a type of API called REST, representational state transfer. So don't bother about the terminologies too much, but that's where we're going to be using a whole lot of time. And also we're going to be using a free API from right here called Punk API. Punk API is available for anyone in the public, for anyone and everyone. So it's just for you to just practice, just use it to practice. You go to punkapi.com and practice. So therefore we're going to be taking this. So just copy this, which is the root endpoint. Don't forget we said APIs have endpoints, they have endpoints, and they also have the resource you're looking for. So the endpoint, they have the resource. So right here you can see all the stuff we talked about. We saw root endpoint, we saw authentication right here, we have rate limits, and then we have the parameters that you're looking for. Then we also have pignations. You can see what we're talking about. Pignations, remember, it's how many requests how many resources you can access at the particular time. You can see this right here says requests can only be run or it's limited to 25 results by default. And then so let's just run a typical API request. So we have copy this, Ctrl C, go to hopscotch, and then paste it here. And you can see the different type of requests you can make, HTTP requests that we can make. So we have the get, we have the post, we have the put, we have the patch, we have delete, request. So but what we're going to be using right now is get. So whenever we're retrieving data from a database, we always use get. Whenever we are adding data to a database, we always use post. So let's go ahead and just click on send. Let's see what happens. So can you see it's a 404 error? Why? It's not receiving anything. It's not finding anything like so. Why? Because we have the endpoint without the resource that we want to get. Remember, we said an API will look like so. Look at it. An API will look like so. It will have an endpoint and then it will have a resource. So let's go back to Punk API. Let's go back to Punk API. There's nothing to authenticate here, so we'll just leave it like so. So you can see what we'll have here, beer. So the resource that we can add, if we add this resource here called beer, we'll be able to access it. So let's go back to hopscotch and just put a slash and say beers. Let's see what happens. Click on send. It's saying not found. Put a question mark. It's still saying not found. Why? Let's go back again and add a parameter. So this is a parameter. Let's go back, go down here. It says if you want to get all the beers, let's copy. Ctrl C, go back to hopscotch. So what's happening is that the way we're spelling beer, it's pretty wrong. So let's put an E at the end again and say send. So can you see what happens? What we're doing now is that we're retrieving data using the hopscotch API. We did not. So you can see all the data. You can see all the beers. So the name of this beer is called Boys. The name of this tagline is Rebeta Experience, First Brew, Description, Image. So if we want to use this on our Adalo application. So we'll make a request to this. It comes to our Adalo application, and then we're able to get all the beers, every one single beer from there, like so. Don't worry, we'll be able to do this later in our Adalo application, and you'll see the way it works really. This is the resource that we want to get, beers. So also we can include the parameter and say we want to get beers that is equal to this. So let's go back to our Punk API. So if we want to get the number of beer that is greater than a particular number, we should use this. If we want to get the number of beers that is made of yeast, we could use this. If we want to get the number of beer brewed before a particular time, we could use this. So we could just copy this first and say this is yeast. We want to get the kind of beer that is made with yeast, so we'll just add the yeast to the end and see what happened. What happened? A fail request. Why? Because it's an invalid parameter. So we can go back to the API documentation and see how it works. Yeah, we just go back to the API documentation and see how to add to it. So see how to add a parameter. After the beer, we'll add a question mark, add a question mark after the beer. So let's go back. So we have a question mark already after the beer. Let's go back. What do we add? It says, yes, look, see what it says. Return all the beers matching. If you need to add spaces, just add an underscore. So let's see what happens. Let's add an underscore and see. So can you see right there? So it's giving us all the beer that is made of yeast. All the beer that is made of yeast, that's what we're getting at this time. So let's go. We have a parameter. We have a body. There is no body right here because this API is just public, so there's no body right there. Then we have the header. There's no auth. So if we go back to our API, we can see that there's no authentication. Authentication is just 0. There's no authentication if we go right there. So that's basically how you would send an API request a lot of time. That's basically how you send an API request, and that's how you get stuff back. So as we go, I'm going to be showing you other API requests. So we're going to make an API request from another API service, so you will see how to include the parameters like the body, the headers, and the auth. So thank you so much for joining me in this lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson again. Welcome back to this lesson on how to read an API documentation. So when it comes to building with an API, just like what we discussed in the last lesson, an API consists of several things. So when you are sending it, it consists of the endpoint and the resource you want to get. So this is hopscotch again, and then we can see parameters, we can see body, we can see header, we can see authorization, we can see request, and then we can see test. For example, if we go back to our API, so I'm going to open this API again and open it. So we can see they gave us several things that we should know. So we can see the endpoint, we can see the auth. So yeah, it's telling us categorically there's no auth. Then I also want to open another documentation, which is the Coinmarket cap API. It's free. You can go ahead and just register and you'll be able to use it. So register, choose the plan and click on the login, and you'll be able to use this API just like so. It's an API that will enable you to know a lot about, that will enable you to get real-time data on cryptocurrency. So I'm just going to, it enables you to get real-time data on cryptocurrency, and right here you can copy your key. Yeah, just copy your key. We're going to be using it. This is the developer console, and you can see the address right here. Just copy your key. We're going to be needing it, and click on API documentation. So when you first look at the documentation, you will think it's a whole lot of gibberish, right? There's a whole lot of things that you don't know. There's a whole lot of gibberish right there. But what you're looking for, mostly, you're looking for the commands. You're looking for the parameters, and you're looking for the authentication. Those are the three most important things. You're looking for the authentication, yeah? You're looking for the endpoint, and you're looking for the resource, just like we said before. And then you're looking for parameters to sort those resources into different, yeah, that's what you're looking for mostly. So for example, if we're looking, let's look for, just go here and type and click on authentication. You would see that this particular API needs, this is the endpoint. You can see using your API key, you can see it, the authentication is an API key. So if we come back to hopscotch, click on it, see authorization, you would see it uses an API key. Yeah, you'd see among them, you see an API key, not a bearer token, just like so. So if we go back, then we can see that this is the endpoint. So we have to first of all copy the endpoint, copy the endpoint, yeah, then after the endpoint, then we can add our resource and get what we want to get. That's the way it works. If you go down, you would see there are different endpoints. You have the cryptocurrency, exchange, global metrics. So each of these slash brings something. Each of these slash brings something. Each of these slash is a different resource. But when it comes to CoinMarketCap, there are some resource that you cannot get for free. There's some resource that you can get for free. It really depends on what you're looking for. Some resources are not for free at all. So for example, like latest listing, for example, like global metrics, tools, blockchain, all these are paid resources. You can't really get them for free. So we're going to have to copy all this before we can make. We have to copy this, the header name. We have to copy the API key before we can, make a request to this server, before we can make an API call and get a resource from this server. So this is the documentation on its own. And then once we're able to figure out our API key, we're able to figure out our header token. The next thing we want to research the resources we can get. So for example, if we type listings, because what we're interested, the project that we're going to be working on, we want to grab listings from CoinMarketCap. We just want to grab listings, see all the listings and watch how the listings are changing day after day. So if we click on, let's go click on listings, or we can just click on cryptocurrencies. So we can see right here, cryptocurrency listing, just like we talked about it in the last lesson. So we see version 1, cryptocurrency. These are the resource that we're looking for. So if we click on the latest, so you can see the method right here is get. Yeah, the method right here is get, and it's telling you this is what this particular resource is going to give you. And then it's telling us, hey, when you call this API, these are some of the things you're going to get. You're going to get the name of the coin, you're going to get the symbol of the coin, you're going to get the slug, you're going to get the rank, you're going to get all this when you call this API. So there are lots of information here. You can see different coins, you can see the one for Ethereum, you can see the one for BTC. There are lots of coins right here that you get. But this is the most important thing. You need to know this is the get request, yeah? This is the get request. This is a get request, and this is the resource that you want to get, yeah? So you need to know this is the get request and the resource that you want to get. That's the most important thing. Irrespective of how complex it is, yeah, that's what you want to get. If we click on this one that says listing new, you would see it's also a get request, and then you can see this is the resource that you want to get. So let's go see another documentation right away. So this is a documentation for Paystack. Paystack is a Nigerian-based fintech company that allows you to send and receive payment within the country and outside the country. So we're going to see some payments. Let's check out overview. Yeah, so let's see the overview. Under this overview, you can see there's a couple of things that you can check out. You can set payment, you can see recurring payment, libraries, and you can see split payments. Yeah. Then if we click on, let's just click on subscription right here. Subscription. So we can see this is the API, this is the endpoint. api.paystack.co/plan. This is the endpoint that you're going to be calling. And then authorization, we use the header, the bearer token. We're not using an API this time, we're just using a bearer token, and the bearer token covers your API key, your secret key. So that's what it's called. They don't call it as API key, they just call it as a secret key. And then the content is in JSON format, which we're going to talk about after this. I'm going to show you a little bit about JSON. And then we have the data that you have to submit. So right here, for the data, for the body, which is going to be, this is going to be in the body section of it. So if you click on, if we go back to Hopscotch, you can see that we have something called the body. Right here, right? We have something called the body. And this is what you're going to be using. We have something called the body right here. And that's what Paystack requires before you can make a request. So the body there is sending Paystack some data for you to get a particular record from a database like so. So, and then the method here is post. The reason why it's post is because you're sending this data somewhere and then you're getting something back. That's the reason why it's post. If it's get, meaning you're getting something from a database owned by Paystack. So that's basically most of the things you'll be doing when you're reading a documentation. So remember, whenever you're going to be creating something in a standard database, it's called post, and whenever you're trying to get something back, it's called get. And whenever you want to change a particular existing table, but you don't want to change the full table, you don't want to create something new, it's called update, or it's called patch. So that's what it's called. So that's how to read all this. I hope you get it. That's how to read a paystack document, an API documentation. So feel free, go ahead, just check out paystack or check out any other API documentation. I will want you to get started with the Punk API documentation. It's super easy to get started with. It has no authentication, and it's super easy for you to play with. Just go ahead, copy the API, go to Hubstack. Where's it? Go to Hubstack. I'm finding it right here. Go to Hubstack, paste it right here like so, click on send. It's not going to come up with any data right there. It's going to come up with a 404 error. Why? Because the resource is not found. So you can put your resource. The resource right there that you want to put, it's called beers. You can put your resource, click on send, and you should see a lot of that API giving you a whole lot. And if you do this in Adalo, you can really get a whole lot. So we're going to try this in Adalo. We're going to try this in Adalo so you can see what I'm talking about. So thank you very much for watching this lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to be playing with API in Adalo. Thank you. So welcome back to this lesson where we're going to dive into Adalo to see how the Punk API will work. So remember, this is the API that we're using. We're using the Punk API right here, and we're just calling this parameter. That's what we're calling. And remember, authentication, it's free. There's no auth, it's 0. And also the parameters here, we can easily add the parameters to our endpoints right there and get the resource that we want. So first thing first, let's just go ahead and copy this Punk API right here like so. Go to Adalo. So this is Adalo, but if you don't have the premium version of Adalo, you might not be able to practice this. But a good way to go around this is to upgrade so you can use the 14-day trial. Is to just opt in for the 14-day trial and you'll be able to practice this. Yeah, that's what I'm using, so you don't have any limitation as to you're not going to have any limitation for the next 14 days if you opt in. So you'll be able to do everything I do right here for the next 14 days. So let's see it this way. We'll click on our database. We say add collection. Remember, we say add collection right here, external collection. Click on it, add collection. So it's going to say, what's the name of this collection? So we're just going to call it Punk API. Just call it Punk API like so. Then I'll just add sample to it. So you see the fact that the API base URL, we're just going to paste it. And you can see that Adalo is even giving you some example. You can see api.example.com, the version, and the resource that you want to get. So click on it. So right here, it's saying api.punkapi.com/the v2, which is the version 2. Yeah. So if we don't need any authentication because there's no auth for this particular API. So if we click on Nest, just click on Nest, you would see run test for the API. So the API call, it's not successful. So let's go back. Let's add the resource that we want to call. Just type beers. So that's the resource we want to call. Click on Nest, and run test. So you can see we have all the list of beers. So these are tables, but they're in JSON format. So we're going to be talking about JSON after this. I'm going to show you what all this is. These are tables, but they're in JSON format. But one thing that Adalo will help you do, Adalo will help you process all this, and you'll be able to use each of this feed to, in your application. That's the way you're going to do it. So let's go back again. So remember, our resource is just the beer. Let's go ahead and add a parameter to it. Go back to your Punk API, scroll down a whole lot, and let's just look for let's add a parameter to it. Okay, let's use this one. It's going to get a random beer. So somehow you can do this in your Adalo application that when a user click on it, it's going to return a random beer, and then for the next table, you're going to show the details of that particular random beer. This is going to be like some sort of a game for you. So let's go back to Adalo. Let's go back to our Adalo application right here like so. Click on it. Remember, the resource we're looking for beer, and the type of beer we're looking for, it's a random beer. So let's click on next. Click on next. Run test. So right, you see the test right here is successful. So the name of the random beer is King of AIDS. Tagline is East Coast IPA. So you can see this is just a random beer that came out from testing this API. And if you're okay with what you've gotten, you just simply click on Create Collection, and then everything here will be available. So you can see everything here from the name, tagline, description, abbreviation. Everything will be available for you to use in your mobile application. That's how cool it is. So this will happen when a person clicks a particular button. So when a person clicks a particular button, you can tell this API, you can run this API, or you can get data from this API, depending on what you want to get. So if you could say, if I click on this button, I want this to happen. If I click on this, I want this to happen. So we've tried this. So that's how you make an external API request from Adalo. But let's go ahead and try something else. What we're going to try this time is we're going to try an API with an auth. That's what we're going to try. We're going to try an API with an auth. So let's click on Add Collection. So we're going to say Test API with auth. So remember we have to add our base API. So we'll go to our Coinmarket cap. This is what we're going to use. So I'll go back there and copy. I've copied my API already. So you can go right here and copy your API key. I'm going to paste it right there. But first, I want to just copy. First, I click on cryptocurrency. I want the latest listing. So this is what I want. I want to just copy this like so. Go back to our Adalo application and click on the base URL. This is what I want right here, like so. And then I'll click on my header, click on the header and my authorization, just like so. The name of my authorization, I'll go back there and copy it. So I'll go to my Coinmarket cap and say auth. So don't forget, just type the word auth right here and you'll be able to get it. Click on auth. And this is the header name. This is the header name right here, like so. Copy. Go back to your Coinmarket cap. Go back to your Adalo application right there, like so, and paste it. Then for the value is going to be your API key, the API key that you copied. So if you don't have the API key, just go back to your profile and copy it. So this is the API key. We'll say done. Click on next. Click on next. Just click on saying we're getting OR. That's what we're doing. Click on done, click on next, test API. So you can see there's an error right here. API key say could not find any result. Are you sure the result key is correct? So what it's saying is that it's finding the API, but we're not giving it a key. That's it. We're not giving it a key, but it's finding the API. This is a success already, but we're not giving it a key. So let's go back. Let's go back. Click on it. The result key right here will be data. That's the result key. The reason why, so let's go back to our CoinMarketCap API. Click on cryptocurrency. Let's say cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, click on it. Click on latest listing and you will see the key. The key right here is the data. So I'm going to explain this when we get to the part where I get to explain how JSON works. So the key right here is the data. So if we go back to our Adalo application, we'll simply just type the key, which is data. So the key might be a lot different for different applications. This might be records for some application. So let's go back to Adalo application. Say done. Click on next. Test it. You can see now right here it says test is successful. So this is what we're going to do. This is what the data we're going to be using to create our Bitcoin watch application. So simple. It's just going to be a table that really displays the current price market, the latest price in the latest price of Bitcoin. So let's go say let's say create collection. So we have two collection, which is a test API collection. We can just we can edit the setting if we want to. We can delete the collection if we want to. If you click on edit setting, it's going to go back for you to edit your your API. So I'm going to just change the name. I'm going to change it to, I'm going to go back again to my database. Click on this, edit. I'm going to say crypto search application. So this is what I'm going to say. Then say next. Next is going to be the same thing. If you want to run the test, it's fine. It's going to be the same thing again. Say save collection, and now it's successful. So that's how to that's how to use the get. That's how to use the get method. But when we are sending data out of Adalo, remember, it's going to be the post. So this is for gets. If we're sending data to a database from Adalo, it's going to be the post. So thank you very much for watching. Join me in the next lesson where we get to do a simple deep dive on JSON and how you can understand how to store data in JSON, how to represent your data in JSON so that it will be accepted by your API. If you do not know JSON, you cannot use the REST API to send data out of your application. Thank you. So welcome back to this lesson where we talk about JSON. JSON means JavaScript Object Notation. It's a very light way to send data back and forth on the internet or to even store data. When you store data in MySQL format, it can be very heavy. But JSON itself, it's super light. So hence the reason why it's the preferred method to send data between APIs. So some of the reason why people use JSON, why developers use JSON, and why most companies use JSON is the fact that it is lightweight, it's the most commonly used APIs, it's humanly readable, so you can easily read a JSON file and understand what's in there, and also it integrates very well with most other languages. Though JSON is written in JavaScript, anything you write as JSON works similarly in JavaScript. You just have to pass it. So if you don't understand what that means, it's just that you just have to convert it to a JavaScript object and it works perfectly. Most other languages like Java, almost every other language out there have a plugin, some sort of a plugin that you can use to integrate JSON into your application. So since we're using the REST API, we're going to be making use of JSON a whole lot. So that's it. So there are types. There are types that JSON supports. JSON supports string. So hence the reason why you can easily send text-based data from one application to another. It supports numbers. So you can see the difference between the string. The string have the double quote on top of it, but you can see the numbers does not. So whenever you're sending a string, you use no quote, you use double quote, but for numbers you just leave it like that because it's an integer. Then it also supports the Boolean value, which is the true or false. It supports the null. Null means nothing. It's useful in some way, but I'm not sure if you're going to be using it a lot in your no-code journey. Then we have the arrays. Yes, you're going to be using the arrays. We have the arrays. Arrays are multiple numbers stored as one that you can access by accessing the key. Yeah. But for objects are stored as key value pair. That's how they're stored. For example, if we want to store the age, we have to provide a key. And then the value is 30. So every time we type the number age, we access that object and we type the number age, but it's going to produce 30. So let's see how to create a JavaScript object. Let's see how to create an object in JSON. So like we said, most of the time what we're going to be using in our no-code journey will be objects. Objects. So first you have to include a curly bracket, then you include your key and your value. For example, the key here is the name and the value it's Paul. Yeah. So the key here is the age and the value is 12. So we can add another one and say the key right here it's Adalo, and we'll put, and the value is no code platform. So you can see right there, right? The key here is Adalo and the value is no code platform. But don't forget, you have to put a comma until you get to the last one. When you get to the last one, you don't need to add a comma to it anymore. So that's how simple it is for you to use JSON, for you to come up with a JSON statement. It's just simple. Just make sure that you always add your curly brackets. Make sure that you add your double quotes, and make sure there is no comma when you add the last item on your object list. So that's how easy it is. Let's go to Adalo and see what we can do with this. So let's say when someone clicks right here, let's say when someone clicks right here, we want this to trigger some sort of an action. So when somebody click on the login button, we'll go here and say submit button, add another action, then right here we'll say custom action. Click on the new, and here it's going to ask us to add the action. So it could be that we're adding an action. It could be, just tell us to add the endpoint, to add just anything. So we're going to call it a name. We would say send to external data. And the type, mostly the type is going to be create. So this create, just think of it as post, So we're not deleting, we're just creating. So this same thing here, you can update, you can delete, and you can create. So we just call it create and say next. So the same thing, we'll put our base URL, Put a base URL, you put our method. Our method is going to be post, always. Then we'll need to add our header and our body. So what we're interested in right here is the body. That's what we're interested in. For us to do this in Adalo, remember we talked about how to add the header and all of it before now, the header parameter and all of it. But what we want to do is to add the input. So if we click here and say the test that we're looking for test, right? So click on test, and we could say what we want to add is the first name. So just follow me. The first name, John. The next we want to add again, test. What we want to add again is the last name, John. So let's just add an example. The first name will be Paul. Done. So the last name will be James, and the first name, we have the first name right there, and we have the last name. So we're supposed to say last name, not James. Last name, and the last name right here is James. So say done. Now the body is going to be expecting a JSON. It's going to be expecting that JSON that we learned the last time. So we're just going to create it right here. Put your two curly bracket, and don't forget to add. We're going to add a key. We're going to add a curly bracket, and we're going to add the first key. The first key is going to be our first name, right? So we're going to say first name. Put the curly bracket right there, column, then add the other open bracket, then put our first name in it. That's how you do it in Adalo. Put our first name in it, write the comma. Then next we'll say last name. Put it right there like so. Then add our last name. Add our last name and pull our double quote, and that's all we have to do, nothing else. So that's all we have to do. So if we had an API, a base URL that will accept our last name and our first name, if we click it, it's going to run the test, and then it will send that data to that URL, and that's all we have to do. So subsequently in this course, we're going to be learning how to send this type of data to our Airtable database. That's what we're going to be learning, how to do that, how to send this type of data to our Airtable database and also send it back to our Adalo application. So that's it. Go ahead and try stuff like this. Go ahead and write some JSON objects and join me in the next class where we're going to be working on a tiny project, and we're going to build our cryptocurrency watch application. Thank you. I'll see you in the next lesson. So welcome back. This time it's time for our project. We're going to create a very simple application that collects data from Coinmarket, using the Coinmarket API, and then represent it in our application. That's what we're going to be doing. So these screens are normal. The user gets to sign up, log in, and then when they get to the home button, they get to see prices of so these screens are normal. We have the sign up, we have the login, and then we have the home button. So when a user sign up, When the user sign up, they log in into the application, all they will see are latest listings. Yeah, latest listings, because that's what we have access to. Some of the APIs are not free, so it's just latest listings, but you can do way much more. The people can see real-time prices right here. It's gonna change as the prices change. It's gonna just keep changing as the prices change. You can make that happen if you want to, but we're just gonna focus on what we're doing. So don't forget, if you go to our database, we've created a CryptoWatch application database before now. If you don't know how to do this yet, go back to the course, to the beginning of the course, and just check out that lesson like so. So I'm going to click on edit setting. I'm going to click on edit setting and see this is just the way we set it up. We have the CryptoWatch application. We put our base URL, put our API key, click on the next. We added our endpoint because we want to get OR. Then we then test our API and we saw that it was working, and bam, we can save our collection. So really good. So first thing first, we're going to include a rectangle. Click on the rectangle and just drag it to the screen like so. This rectangle, we're going to change the color to white. You can change it to any color of your choice, but white is just some sort of a feel self color. Let's change it to white and turn the y-axis to 1 and the size to 2. So we're going to have something like so. Drag it down a little bit. Click on this and add a test. Add the test button. Just make it small like so. And then we can add another button, another test feed below it. And then we can add a button under it. So just add a tiny button under it for people to find out more, or it could be a test that says read more, learn more. It could be a test, so it could just be a button. So just add a button right here like so that says read more. Make the button pretty small. It should be let's just make it outlined. Say read more. So we're not focusing on the aesthetics. What we're really focusing on is the fact that we can really use data from an external API to do what we want to do. So that's what we'll do right there. We'll turn it from uppercase to lowercase, and we can just, I'll just leave it like so. So the data, will make this, highlight this and make it a group, so it doesn't swell, it doesn't just, scatter everywhere. For my first, I'm going to delete the first test. Or wait, before then, once you make it a group, we want to make it a list of something. We want to turn it into a list. So highlight again and say make list. So it's going to ask you, it's going to be a list of words. We say CryptoWatch application. That's what it's going to be a list of. So you can see we have all the lists right here like so. And for our button, let's take it to the left. Take it to the left like so. So it's right there. Then for our button, for our enter test, we'll take it away, click on the plus sign, and it will say name. Yeah, this is the name. Yeah, and after the name, I want to add tiny text at the bottom of it that says the symbol. Yeah, this is just be some sort of a symbol. So like I said, I'm not focusing on the UI. If you're a UI person, I'm pretty sure this might be a bit different for you. So I'm going to say, what's it going to be? Current CryptoWatch symbol, right? That's what it's going to be, symbol. And then we'll click on the second one. What do we want to do? Click on it, test. What are we going to add now? We can add the test. So we can add the test, date added. Let's see, last updated. So let's see total supply. No, we're not doing that. Symbol, name, ID, no. So we're just going to add, say date added. So let's just make it date added like so. And then when a user click on this read more button, when a user click on this read more button, we want to open a new tab. We want to open a new tab, a new screen that would say read more about Coin. So just just something that will make them read more about Coin, and we'll choose an app bar for this. So right here, so when you click on this, they're going to read more about the coin. So if you go down, you can see the data that follows it is the crypto watch application, the current warrant. Yeah, this current data, this current feed follows it this way. So hence we'll be able to just add a test feed. We'll just add a test feed here like so. Then click on the plus sign. The test feed is going to be the current name. So it's going to be the name, and we can decide to float that to the middle. Yeah, and then we can decide to increase the boldness, and also we can decide to increase the font size. So this is going to be the cryptocurrency name, and then now we can add more details. We can add more details to it that look like some sort of a table. We can add more details to it, like so. Just make it a bit small, so you can add more details. I'll duplicate this. I'll duplicate this right here. Just duplicate and put it right here. So that's the name. So this is where on the right hand side, that's where we're going to be adding our variables on. So if we click on this right here, current crypto, we're going to add. We know the name already. So so we're going to say number of market pairs. So this is the number of market pairs. So we're going to just call this and say number of market pairs, like so. Then we're just going to click on it and duplicate it. So we can turn it into a group and duplicate it. Since we're going to be pairing most of the market pairs just like so, we can click on it, make group, and Ctrl V, Ctrl C, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and bring it down. So that's the number of market pairs. Click on the one on the other side and delete it. So want to add like total market supply, something like so. Want to add max supply. So click on it. This is going to be max supply. So remember, this data like so, it's coming from the database. It's coming from an external database. It's not something that we've written. It's not something that we did. It's just coming from the Coin API database. That's where we're getting all this data from. So like so, click on the plus sign. No, click on the Ctrl Z. On the left is where we have our data. We'll click on the magic test. So what we're going to add now, we're going to add circulating supply. So this is our circulating supply, like so. Circulating supply. So just copy again. Ctrl C. So all these circulating supply, they are going to be numbers. If you've been doing Adalo for a while, using Adalo for a while, you would know that they're not going to be tests when you actually view the application. They're going to be numbers. So let's do one more. I'm pretty sure you have a hang of it now. Right now, you can go ahead and just do some plus and minus. Do it the way you want to do it. It's gonna be really beautiful. So so let's just add the total supply right there. So total supply right here. So let's go back to the first one. Click here right here. Click the name. We just change it to this font, make it 18, so that it's a bit bigger than the other one. So this is the date. This is the date. Click on it. We want to format it, and we want to say date instead of relative. Relative is going to show us like how many days ago. So we want to make it a date, like a read date. That's the way we want to format it. And so then let's go ahead, click on the plus sign, and put something right here like so. This is going to be the title of our application. Title of our application is Coinmarket Watch. Market Watch. So I'm pretty sure you've seen such application like so on the Play Store. This is the way they are created. People don't just go ahead and write stuff like so, just like that, like getting the value of Bitcoin from their head. It always comes from an external source. So let's go ahead and preview our application. Preview our application. We're waiting for it. So I'm just gonna type a regular password. Click on the sign up. So you can see Bitcoin, it was added today, Ethereum was added today, Theta was added today, BNB was added today. If you scroll down, you would see all the coin. You can see what we've created, right? This is super awesome. So you can see what we've created. This is what we've created right now. Bitcoin was added in 2013, Ethereum, you can see what we're doing. So we can click on the read more button, and let's see what we'll find. So you can see number of market pairs is 9,321, max supply, circulating supply, total supply. So we can have lots of information like this. If we click on the next button, Theta, we'll be able to see market pairs, max supply, number of supply, and all that. If we go down right here, click on BNB, you'll be able to see all this stuff. Number of market pairs, max supply. So you see, that's the way you do stuff. You don't have to go back here and update this application. It's just as simple as possible. You can put this on the Play Store and you can make money from paid advertisement on the go. So that's how you relate with external database using Adalo, using APIs in Adalo. I want to say thank you for watching. This lesson was brought to you by Adalo in partnership with NoCode45. We build custom mobile application using no-code tools such as Adalo. You want to check us out? Go to www.nocode45.co and check us out. And we also teach the same too. We have an academy at NoCode45 where we teach the same, so you can go check out our courses on building mobile applications with Adalo. Thank you. I'll see you in the part 2 of this course, where we're going to be having a very, very, very deep dive into APIs. Thank you.